It's my pleasure to welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, on behalf of Borough President Otto and the Daly family, here to Borough Hall for the annual Patrick F. Daly Award tonight, honoring two great educators, Renee Mazza and John DiMartino. At this time, I would like to ask Father Squire to come forward to offer this evening's invocation.
Sovereign God, ruler of all, teacher of this universe, we thank you for the gift of education. We especially thank you this night for your servants, Renee and John, who have been gifted beyond all means that they can and share it with others, that young and old can come to know more about this world we live in and how to live with one another. As we gather this night, may we do so joyfully and bring you praise for these servants we honor tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Father Squire. We're so pleased tonight to be able to honor these two educators who have paid tribute to Mr. Daly's legacy through their commitment to students and community and to Staten Island at large. Their leadership is a great role model for all Staten Islanders. At this time, I'd like to invite Patrick Daly's son, Pat Daly, and his nephew, David Pasquarella, to the podium to speak personally about Mr. Daly, for whom this award is named.
Good evening. I'd like to first and foremost thank Borough President Otto for carrying on this wonderful tradition of honoring two great educators in the memory of my uncle. I'm not an educator. My aunt was an educator, my mother, and Uncle Pat. But I could tell as an outside observer, that is one of the toughest and least appreciated jobs. I spent, when I was in high school, we had a volunteer senior involvement, they called it. And I volunteered at my mother's school in Brooklyn, PS 205. After spending a few months there, my mother said, "Would you want to be a teacher?" I was like, "I think I'd rather work in a prison, to be honest with you." But I'm really happy Jimmy did this, because before Uncle Pat passed, he got a little bit of recognition. There was an article in the New York Post that spoke of his good work. Tom Brokaw did a piece on the evening news about him. But the most important thing was the PTA celebrated his anniversary as a teacher. And we all got to go, and there was a lot of ribbing him and stuff. But you could tell people really loved him. And I'm really happy that Jimmy's giving a chance to show appreciation of people while they're here to appreciate it, as opposed to too often it's after you've passed, we hear how great you were. Well, you've all done a great job. Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy.
I want to join my cousin in thanking the borough president for tonight and this award, and honoring both the recipients and my father. It means a lot to me and my family that after 27 years we're still here talking about my dad and his legacy and his life as a teacher. One of my favorite parts about this award is when the nominations come in, you read all these great stories about all these educators in Staten Island who are doing such great things, going above and beyond the call of duty. And they don't do it for the awards, they don't do it for the money, they do it because it's their calling. And what's really great about this award, and again, echoing what David said, is that tonight, Borough President Daly gives us a chance to show our appreciation for what tonight's honorees have done with their careers as educators. We can show our appreciation and our thanks. So, thank you both.
Thank you both so much. You know, at the 9/11 ceremony last September, Borough President Otto asked us to consider the power of storytelling. The power of storytelling to let people know about people we've lost, to let people understand their personal lives, but also the sacrifices they made. And I've been telling that all over Staten Island because that's so important. And that's how we keep people alive. And telling the Patrick Daly story is so important so that his legacy continues as it is today. So with that in mind, I welcome to the microphone our Borough President, Jim Otto.
So I promised you air conditioning. Don't look at the air conditioners, because if you look up at the air conditioners, you're going to say, typical politician. They're covered. We can't use them. I cannot give you air conditioning. Welcome to Borough Hall, everyone. It's really wonderful to see a full house like this. This is I don't want to use the word bittersweet, but there are lots of emotions that run through this evening. Obviously, we are proud and we are appreciative of these two educators, but we have to take a minute to think about how we got here and think about the man that we are honoring. And I would love to read for you this entire article, but I think that might be a bit unfair. But I have to read it to you because I think it is so well written. And unfortunately, in the sign of our times, the entity, DNA Info, no longer exists. And it did some really great reporting. This particular article that I'm going to cite was written around the 20th anniversary of the loss of Patrick Daly. And so, just bear with me. Just days after a young man gunned down 20 school children, 4 teachers, a principal, and a psychologist in a Connecticut school, Brooklyn educators and parents will memorialize the murder of another school principal Monday, one that 20 years ago shook New York to its core. On December 17, 1992, Patrick Daly, the head of PS 15, was cut down by a single stray bullet as he searched the neighborhood for a 4th grader who fled the school following a fight. He was caught in the crossfire between 3 teenage drug dealers, then a common occurrence in Red Hook and indeed the rest of the city. But the victim and his death at the hands of what turned out to be former students became an event that indelibly transformed Red Hook. It triggered an unprecedented coming together of the neighborhood's embattled community. It sparked massive investment in a neighborhood that had been all but abandoned by City Hall, and the ensuing trial set a precedent for murder prosecutions nationwide. Quote, "This put Red Hook on the map nationally and internationally as a crack-infested urban war zone," said Judge Alex Calabrese, who presides over the Red Hook Community Justice Center, a community court built in the wake of the shooting. Quote, "You wouldn't have the Justice Center without the horrible things they went through." 2 decades later, residents, community activists, and city leaders see Daly's death as the tragedy that saved Red Hook, an event that still brings tears to the eyes of people who survived the neighborhood at its worst. I'm just going to jump ahead a bit. As others fled to other schools or new jobs altogether at the earliest opportunity, Daly and a handful of colleagues stayed behind. Quote, "I think he felt he had a mission. This is where he was meant to be," a colleague said. He realized that by being here, he was going to affect so many other people. He had the opportunity to move on and up in the border of education, but he chose to stay here and build this community. He really had a vision of what can happen, what a neighborhood can be, not just what it is. Daly, a soft-spoken and with a salt and pepper beard, became a recognizable figure in the community, not only through his work with thousands of children and parents, but because of a particular policy he implemented at PS 15. No student could leave the building without an escort, and any student who left the school by themselves without permission had to be tracked down. On any given day, residents might catch a glimpse of the slender man striding past, clad in a suit and tie. Quote, "You never caught Mr. Daly in jeans," one resident said. "He was the only white face walking through the neighborhood without a gun and a badge. He could walk here at night. He was like an untouchable," said Wally Bazemore, a longtime Red Hook Houses resident and activist. Mr. Bazemore actually was here for a previous year, spoke glowingly about Mr. Daly. "We trusted him. That's rare for a community of color to trust a white man. As James described, even the guys who had their hats to the back and had clothes kind of hanging off a bit would see him and they would straighten up. 'How you doing, Mr. Daly?' That's the kind of love and respect that people had." The rain that afternoon is one detail that every source said he or she remembers. Misty and drizzling, frigid in the December air, forming droplets and puddles that reflected the blue and red lights strobing from atop dozens of police cars that descended on the Red Hook houses. It just goes on to describe that day and the scene and the reaction from the community. I'll just close with this, and it's from Pat Daly's wife, and it was written to Judge Calabrese, who runs that community court. And it was, "Your work keeps Pat's legacy alive." And I want to stop there because in a vintage 6 degrees of Staten Island separation, Judge Calabrese still runs the Red Hook Community Justice Center. And he has taken fancy to a young judge and has made her his protege and has specifically told everyone when he is out, he wants Judge Peterson to sit in his stead. And Judge Peterson is learning at the knee of Judge Calabrese and has gotten to know the people of Red Hook. Judge Peterson is my wife. And it just strikes me as just the circle kind of coming complete, that in some small way, my wife too is doing the work and carrying on the work of Patrick Daly. We are known in this, since we got to Borough Hall, I think we're known in some circles for the work we do on health and wellness. I went out and I hired a physician, which was kind of unheard of. But what we really are known for, what we really consider our first priority, and it's a common theme that is woven through not only my 6 years here at Borough Hall, but the 15 I spent in the city council. Our real top priority is education, because we know that educators like these two, educators like Mr. Daly, transform lives. Every problem that exists in society, every challenge that we have is made better, can be fixed through education. When good people step forward and say, "This is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm going to do everything in my power to help these young people." And tonight, we get an opportunity to honor two of you. This time I'll really close. God bless our friend Lou Tobacco, who's the new CEO of Jimmy Colombo's alma mater and my alma mater, Monsignor Farrell. I'm teaching a leadership class there. And now I kind of have a sense of why you do what you do and why you've done it for as long with a passion. When you're in front of those kids and you feel those two eyes lock on you, it's an amazing feeling. But I came across a phrase which I think is what you guys do. It's called moral elevation, and that's what you do in every way. You go above and beyond, and you teach them about empathy, and you teach them about integrity, and you teach them about humility, and you teach them about gratitude, and those things may not necessarily be in any book or any curriculum, but that's what you're instilling, and that's what they need to hear and they need to learn, and you guys do it incredibly well. I think you are worthy awardees. Let the families know, I don't know them. They're not my cousin. I did the 23andMe. I didn't see their names. There is a committee that selects the winners each year, and you know this is on the merits, and we have selected two really good ones this year. So to the Daly family, thank you again for everything. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the legacy. of Patrick Daly. And thank you to the awardees for living true to his spirit. Thank you.
Wow, I'd like a transcript of that. That was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'd now like to invite Paul Prasha, principal of PS 23, to come up to the podium and say a few words about our first honoree, Renee Mazza.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Thank you, Borough President Otto and the staff for giving this opportunity to celebrate exemplary educators. Congratulations to this year's honorees and their families. And I want to thank all the PS 23 staff that packed the house tonight. It's a great honor that I'm up here honoring my dear colleague and my friend, Assistant Principal Renee Mazza, as one of the 2 Patrick Daly Award winners. 28 years ago, Mr. Daly was killed as he was en route to help a student in the Red House projects, as we just heard about. When I was reading the description of the award, it got me to think that if Renee Mazza was faced with the same circumstances as Mr. Daly, that this award would be called the Renee Mazza Award. Also, if Renee was a firefighter like Steven Siller, she was in the tunnel during the 9/11 attacks, she too would have run through the tunnel to help her fellow New Yorkers during their most tragic situations. That's the kind of person she is. It's etched in her DNA. She's selfless, has a steadfast commitment to her students, staff, and parents. She is wise and always willing to share her insights and creativity to help others. She is funny, of course, always at the right moments when you need a good laugh. She's a leader amongst leaders and a foxhole friend. A foxhole friend is defined as someone, when the chips are down, you need somewhere in your corner, when you're most desperate, when you have nowhere else to turn. These are the friends you turn to and the ones by your side. That's what Renee Mazza means to me. She has worked for the Department of Education for 26 years as a teacher, reading coach, assistant principal, and for the past 16 years served as assistant principal of our PS 23. If you look back at my career, Miss Mazza is one of the 4 people on my Mount Rushmore of most influential people. I'm grateful that she put the idea in my head to pursue becoming principal of PS 23, and she believed in my abilities to lead PS 23 to greater pastures. Her influence has helped me grow as an educator, leader, and human being. Most people are like thermometers. They only assess the temperature in the room and read it. You can hear them saying, there's a problem. The parents don't do X, Y, and Z. It's hot, it's cold. Only stating the obvious. Renee is more like a thermostat. Her presence regulates and raises the temperature and the climate of our school. You can hear her saying, let's come up with a solution. If we do X, Y, and Z, this will be our outcome. According to my favorite author, Stephen R. Covey, leadership is communicating to others, their self-worth and potential so clearly that they're inspired to see it within themselves. That's what Renee does for our community. As a result, we share a united vision and share high expectations for one another. Most importantly, our students have high expectations for themselves. Whether it be a project to get students to lead their own conferences, have students participate in charitable projects, or engage students in rigorous learning tasks, Renee is there helping design, provide feedback, and makes the idea come alive. Each morning, Ms. Mazza can be seen greeting students, opening breakfast items, empowering students to take the lead to find the rightful owner of lost and found items. Her most dedicated and favorite job in the building. She takes it very, very seriously, and she doesn't even care if they're the rightful owner. She gets to know every student's life narrative. Parents often come to her for advice on how to help their children learn better and handle sensitive situations. Recently, she can be seen bringing in clothing for who had bathroom accidents, and on other occasions, she purchased a coat from TJ Maxx to help a child in need. On other instances, she can be observed rounding up a group of teachers to troubleshoot a parent's educational concern. She constantly solicits the ideas of others to help improve the instruction and learning experiences for the students at PS 23. She can be heard seeking feedback from a variety of community members to ensure that as a school we are achieving our desired results. She gives up her time mentoring other district educators, high school students, and student teachers. What she gets done in one day may be equivalent to another's week or month. She brings it every day and leaves it all on the table in order to get home to spend time with her favorite people, Eric, John Luca, and Maggie. She makes no excuses and always looks to do things with excellence. This is truly her life calling. I attribute our success in large part because of Renee's influence. As a result of Renee's servient-style leadership, our school has earned many prestigious honors, which include becoming recertified as a nationally recognized Leader in Me Lighthouse School with academic distinction, being honored as a New York State Reward School, being recognized as the Daly Respect for All School, and targeted by the New York State Department of Education as a possible blue ribbon school. Ms. Mazda's favorite part of her job as assistant principal is working alongside teachers and fellow educators, helping them to create learning opportunities and instructional resources that are implemented to improve the learning conditions for all students. Weekly, she leads our instructional cabinet. Cabinet members have been empowered by her gentle leadership style to provide input, make decisions, take risks, and provide suggestions. Her role as a gentle leader serves the greater good, puts the interest of others first. She creates a place where all members, regardless of position, are treated with dignity and respect. She has a knack for galvanizing others around an idea and stirs their deepest passions and elicits their full energies. She serves as our Leader in Me Lighthouse Coordinator, Special Education Supervisor, Testing Coordinator. If you're starting to feel overwhelmed, you should be, because this is what she does every day. Ice cream flyer coordinator, ice cream sale coordinator, all the important things. BRT leader, lighthouse board coordinator, student teacher coordinator, after school tutor, school counselor, and concierge to the principal. She pioneered our philanthropic classroom project to make leadership for all at PS 23 and not for a few. Now each classroom, pre-K to 5, partners with charitable organizations, and our students carry out charitable acts to help those in need. Such projects include neighborhood food drives, where students go door to door with flyers and collect canned items, bringing our Richmond Town community together. Visits to local nursing homes, and to help lift the spirits of elderly residents, and help the 122 precinct by donating teddy bears to the children of victims of domestic violence. This philanthropic project has helped students learn empathy, compassion, kindness, all endearing qualities of Miss Mazza. Like our adopted philosophy, the butterfly effect, Miss Mazza's noble actions can be felt on the other side of the globe because our graduates are learning the necessary skills and virtues that help them become better global citizens. As Miss Mazza is an exceptional person who is well deserving of the award named after Patrick Daly for her service to the community, steadfast commitments to her students, and our overall acts of leadership. Thank you all for coming out tonight to celebrate this phenomenal educator, human being, and beloved assistant principal.
A foxhole friend, I'm stealing that. Great job, thank you. To speak about our next honoree, John DiMartino, I'd like to invite up Andrew Greenfield, principal of Port Richmond High School.
Well, thanks for making me look bad, Paul. So I didn't prepare a speech because to talk about John, you don't need a speech. So first, congratulations to Renee, and thank you to the borough president and the deputy borough president. And it's actually very interesting because when the borough president was talking about full circle and 6 degrees of separation, Mr. Daly, I'm going to share something with you. My father worked for 30 years as an administrator and a dean in a junior high school in Red Hook, Brooklyn. And he knew your father. And he was actually a regular topic of conversation in my house because they had crossed paths so many times because all of the students in PS 15 went to junior high school 142 when they graduated, and my father got to know them well. So when this award, was named for him, I immediately jumped at it, and I passed it off to the other assistant principals in the school, and I said, what do you guys think? And around the table, there are 8 assistant principals at Port Richmond High School, and around the table, each one said, Demo, 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 because John DiMartino epitomizes everything your father stood for and did in his entire career. When your father passed away, I remember it well. I was just starting my teaching career, and at that point, my father had transferred from Red Hook to Staten Island a little bit, actually a few years after he did. And when my family talked about your father, it was the way we talk about the heroes of 9/11, because your father really was a hero. And when I think about John DiMartino, I think the same way. I've been an educator for 28 years, and I've never met a single person in my profession that reaches the heights of John DiMartino. I became principal 2 years ago, but John and I have worked together for 19 years. I hired him as a dean against my will. We always joke about that. I always said, that guy can't be a dean. He never even wears pants. He wears shorts every day. But the former principal talked me into hiring John as a dean and said, trust me, you're going to want this guy as a dean. And if I had to walk through the gates of hell tomorrow and fight off Satan himself, it's John DiMartino that I would want by my side, because they don't make them like John DiMartino. Nobody calls him John DiMartino. So, I get to work every day at 6 a.m. I'm the brand new principal. I got to make a good impression and get there at 6. And no matter what time I get there, John is the only person there that's there before me. I don't know if I'm not sure if he sleeps there. His wife would know better. Definitely before 6, John is there already working. When I go home at night, we park next to each other because he's the first car in the parking lot and I'm the second car in the parking lot. And every night I go home, whose car is still there? John's car, because he's finishing paperwork in the dean's office, or he's reaching out to a parent, or he's making sure a student got home safely. Over the 19 years, we share stories all the time. And I could share a million stories about John, about climbing over the abandoned railroad tracks, behind Port Richmond to save a kid who was going to do harm to himself. The number of times John is driving to a student's house to make sure that he got home safe. I'll get there and John's sitting in the living room with the parents of the student. He's eating a bowl of cereal or whatever. Wherever I go in Staten Island, people will say, hey, Mr. Greenfield, how's everything going? He goes, how's Demo? Is he still there? Is he still wearing shorts? There isn't a person on Staten Island that hasn't heard of John DiMartino or Demo. It's just, on the North Shore of Staten Island, he's like a get-out-of-jail-free card. If you know Demo and the Mariners Harbor projects, you're good to go. You can go anywhere. And although I didn't prepare anything official, I have to say that when I became principal 2 years ago, Mr. Gannon, I apologize, I'm saying 5 years. It's not gone that long. Another retired principal gave me some good advice. He said, forget all of the administrators that you've inherited. He said, choose 5 people in your building, 5 superstars that are loyal to you, that will help you change the school. And I realized on that day, I didn't need 5. I needed 1. I needed John DiMartino by my side, because with him, anything is possible, and we will change Port Richmond High School. And he does it every single day. I love you, sir.
Wow, that was great. So before the awards presentation and the unveiling, we'd like to hear from our honorees, right? So let's begin with Renee. Renee Maz, everybody.
Hi there, everyone. If you know me, you know this is, but first I'd like to congratulate, I guess I should call him Demo, fellow honoree, Mr. John DiMartino. What an honor for someone to think of you when reflecting on fallen Principal Patrick F. Daly. The world of education and all the students before you are very lucky to have you. Congratulations. I have so much gratitude for being honored in Patrick Daly's name, and I truly am the luckiest person to be able to work with the people I have worked with in all these years. All of us together, you guys, have made and continue to make a difference in the lives of children. I was wondering why I can't really see. Thank you to my work family for showing up for me tonight and always. I truly am blessed. I would also like to thank my friends and family who are here too. Thank you for wanting to come and share in this experience with me, especially my loves, Eric, Luca, Maggie. I love you guys with all my heart, and I wouldn't want to spend my life with anyone else. Thank you to Borough President James Otto for being a friend to education and for keeping Patrick Daly's memory alive. We really appreciate you. I would like to thank my colleague and friend, Paul Proscia, for thinking of me when he heard of this award. I am honored. I am beyond grateful, beyond humbled, and beyond blessed to get to do what I love every single day, surrounded by people who go above and beyond, and to receive this award, honoring this amazing educator and man who is admired, respected, and loved by all. He did amazing work, and I'm so proud to be recognized through his name. So thank you. I also have two people to thank for my life in education. So the first would be my mother. So when I started kindergarten, she began her new job as an assistant teacher in the Brooklyn School for Special Children. So since 1977, I have been surrounded by people making a difference in the lives of children. Being able to hear her stories, see her excitement as she spoke about the children she worked with, and to visit her in action made me want to do the same. Being a teacher was all I ever wanted to be, and because of her love and support, experience, and dedication, I became one, and I loved it. And so teaching has always been a part of me. And then came a very special lady. Her name is Mrs. Basia Weinstein, and she was my principal when I was a teacher. And she showed me that when you are kind, supportive, respectful, and invested, people will do the same. She led with kindness, and because of her, I wanted to become a leader. So I left my teaching happy place and became an administrator, always trying to follow in her footsteps. She believes in the power of gentle leadership, and after 16 years, I know that it works. And I continue to work at it every single day. I love what I do. I love every child who has come into my life. I am grateful for all the people I work with and for all the experiences I have had in my 26-year career as an educator. And I am beyond blessed. Thank you, everyone.
And now, John DiMartino, approach the mic. Congratulations.
Wow. Much like Andrew Greenfield, I had absolutely nothing prepared. So this is going to come straight from the hip, and I am going to do my best not to break down, because it almost happened several times. I would first like to thank Edward Burke, Deputy Borough President, Honorable James Otto, the Borough President. I would also like to thank Pat Daly and Dave. Okay, you guys touch me the most. Everyone has two families, so I am going to start with my family at home, who pretty much guided me up until I got to high school. So I'm going to thank my mother and my father, my brother, my sister, my brother-in-law, my nieces and nephews. I am going to thank my backbone. I know you guys think I'm absolutely wonderful. However, for 32 years, my biggest backbone has been my wife, Christine. 21 years married, and she waited 11 years until I had the guts to pop the question. So, thank you, honey. I have 3 amazing children. One is a Farrell graduate who now plays baseball at Pace University. My son is currently a sophomore at Monsignor Farrell, and my daughter is currently a senior at Hill. They are my pride and joy. Most of the time when I'm dealing with a child, I'm dealing with my own children and share that love for them. So it's straight from the heart. Moving forward to education, I never wanted to be at Port Richmond High School. I was at Newdorp High School, and I was there as a 6-month loaner. And when I got there, after about 6 weeks, the assistant principal for physical education pretty much told me what I didn't want to hear. Newdorp doesn't want you back, but we'd love to have you here. And that person is Miss Susan Rossi. Absolutely wonderful. She is my mom, physical education teacher, as she was to about 8 to 12 other staff members. Once I got to Port Richmond High School, I worked under several outstanding people when I first got there. My first one I can mention, I guess she'd be my work mother, my work wife, my work husband, my work everything. 4 years after she's retired, the reason I get to school every day is because I have to feed her cats that still live there. I am deathly allergic to them, but that's Karen Lynch, AKA KL. Moving forward from KL, I have 2 other people that mentored me. One I heard from today I was extremely excited to hear from, and that's Miss Joan DiDomenico, who was at Port Richmond High School for about 31 years, give or take a year or 2. And she was our assistant principal for instructional support, and she moved on to assistant principal for guidance. She was wonderful. She had the motherly intake. She had the motherly love of a child, and she was always able to, as we say, find the good in everything. Moving forward, I could say I have my big brother, I have my father, I have my biggest mentor, and that's Principal Andrew Greenfield, who there's no way I would be where I am without him. And one of the rules that Joan had was, if Andrew goes, you go. I say, Joan, wherever he's going, I'm going. If it meant in the middle of the street, if it meant on stage, wherever it meant. So for that, I would just like to thank those 4 people with a round of applause right now. Thank you, Andrew, Joan, Susan, and KL. I would also like to thank my current administration for nominating me for this award. Nancy Senna, who's my assistant principal for health and physical education, as well as my work wife, Miss Suzanne Woodman, who is the APO and also in charge of our music and foreign language, Miss Tina Price, who is in charge of math, Mr. Eric Varga, who doubles as APO and in instructional support, Miss Nirmala Names, who is in charge of science, Miss Rihanna De Palma, who is in charge of English. I think I covered everyone. If I didn't, I apologize. With that being said, I try not to mention this award to anybody. And I believe I was nominated on October 17th is when I got the letter. And I try not to say anything. And I'm actually very glad I did. Because of how much I look up to Andrew. Once Andrew drew the connection between his dad and your dad, you know, I can say I was not able to keep it together emotionally. I would have loved to meet him. I am honored to be recognized anywhere near in anything that he has done. I would like to congratulate Renee on your award, and thank you guys for coming, my entire family. I did forget someone, Mr. Gannon, I apologize. You know what I'm going to say, right? I have pants on because 2 days ago I received an email message from Mr. Gannon asking, Borough Hall, you are going to have your shorts on? So, Mr. Gannon, I apologize. I'm glad you made it from Timmy's game. I did forget someone. I apologize, and I'm not going to forget him. My current assistant principal in safety security, also Mr. Bill Luisa. So again, I will not take up any more of your time. I will not Jimmy V you. I will just say thank you guys for coming out. I appreciate it, and have a wonderful night.
Two great speeches from two great honorees. Now, if I can ask the honorees to come on up to receive their awards, along with the Pat Daly family, please come on up.
You mentioned two families, and that is so true. I have a Borough Hall family, and I mentioned the fact that we hired a physician and broke new ground, but we also broke new ground by going out and actually putting an educator at the lead of Borough Hall's education efforts. Imagine that. Unique idea. And that is the legendary former principal Rose Kerr. And Rose is part of the selection committee. And as you can see, they made two really good selections. And the last thing I want to say is just to thank you to you, sir. Because no matter where you are, and someone comes up to you and mentions the fact that they knew your dad, it blows you away. I was at the wake for Councilwoman Debbie Rose's mom, and there was this long line to go view the casket, and a gentleman tapped me on my shoulder to say that he was a young motorman in Coney Island Yard, and my dad taught him. And those moments where people come into your life and tell you a story about your father seem to come at just the right time. And I think tonight was a good night to hear a Patrick Daly story that was so personal. So thank you for that. We have lovely awards. I mean, they really are lovely. How about that? Sure. Come on, Eddie Burke. We'll take a few photos. Eddie Burke, get in this photo. You're the master of ceremonies. What are you ducking out on? Come on.
See, you never know what camera to look at.
Just look beyond them.
Hey,
My wife's. That's a smart man. It took him a little while to learn, but he learned. Thank you for that.
It is such a pleasure to speak to one of the winners of the Patrick Daly Award, Ms. Renee Mazza. Congratulations, how are you?
Thank you. I'm excited. I'm very excited about winning this award. It means a lot to me. Education is my passion, and being recognized in the name of Patrick Daly is very, very special. Just to even be mentioned with his name is above anything I would ever expect.
Tell me about the day you discovered education.
I try and think back, and I don't think there was ever a day that I was not going to be an educator. There was no other plan for me. It's all I've known, and I love it. And I've been a teacher and a coach and now an assistant principal, that every part of it has been exactly what I wanted. I love children, I love education, I love helping people, so it's been exactly what I wanted.
Tell me about a typical day in the life on the job for you. How do you start your day? How do you progress during the day? And how do you end your day?
I start my day eating breakfast with children and walking around just in the breakfast area, welcoming children at the front door, making sure everyone gets in okay, making sure everyone's okay without their parent, not sad or anything. We give away a lot of lost and found clothing. That's a big part of the job, making sure everyone has all of their items. Then I go up to my office, I check my email, I make sure all the children are there, and we do announcements over the loudspeaker and just make sure everybody's in the right place. And then, I get started on just the daily grind of, education parts, anything that I'm up to at that point. So, and observations, walking into classrooms, meeting with teachers, it's all, every day is different, so.
You talk about the people that were influential in your life and career. Tell us more about the people that influenced you in the classroom.
In the classroom, teachers, and so when I was a teacher, I loved where I was. I loved being in Brooklyn. I loved the people that I was with, and I learned from a lot of good educators that we all worked together. We were collaborative, and of course that principal that I had, Mrs. Basia Weinstein, she was my inspiration for mostly everything. And then now where I am, we have a wonderful school where everyone's heart is right where it should be, and that's the most important thing to me. They love what they do. They love our place. They love our building. They love being there. And I can say I'm inspired by them every single day. They just work their hardest. You never see them not doing the best job that they can. So I'm just really inspired to do great things because they are just doing great things for the kids. And I know that they're the direct line to them. So whatever they need, I'm there for them.
Of the jobs you've had in the school system, which would you say is the toughest?
Classroom teacher.
Why is that?
Because you have to get in there every single day and you are on. So you have all different things to deal with: children, emotions, education, curriculum, things that go wrong, and they just work. They're on from the minute they get there to the minute they leave. There's no rest. There's no bathroom. So I think they have the toughest job.
It's really interesting. Usually when people are honored with a particular award, it's someone older. Yet you're still an extremely young woman. What's it like for you to stay so young, yet last in the education system for so long?
I just work at the best place, surrounded by great people. They make my job easy. They are. When you are happy with what you do every day, you could do it forever. That's why I've been the assistant principal there for 16 years. I'm good at, I love what I do, because a lot of times people will ask, of course, the question, why aren't you a principal somewhere? I love what I do. I have a direct line to the teachers. They trust me. We work together every single day. I loved being a teacher so much, so this is like my closest link, but I get to make really great big decisions, on behalf of everyone. But I love my team. I love working with my team. I love where I live, where I work, and I think every day when I leave, I say, my goodness, I am so blessed. So that you can work forever if that's how you feel about what you do.
Are there any more similarities or differences in working between here and Brooklyn?
I think I worked in a great place there as well. It's very different. I mean, just even the culture of where I worked on 18th Avenue in Brooklyn. It was a busy area, busy streets. Now it's more country-like, but the people are all the same. The people are there for the right reason. I actually was a substitute teacher before I actually got a job, so I kind of chose where I wanted to go. When I was a teacher, I just kind of gravitated toward that one school. And it was because of the people, the culture, the way a building makes you feel, the way people treat children. And I have that again here in Staten Island. So I've been very lucky.
You've been there before, so you're the one who best knows how to answer this question. What makes a good teacher?
A good listener, somebody who loves what they do, somebody that will put their heart and soul into it, somebody that puts their children before themselves, somebody that wants to learn more every day, who doesn't just want to do the same old thing, someone that changes with the children that are in front of them, but really being a good listener to what those children need. That's what makes a great educator. You have to be with the kids that are in front of you, and you have to know what they want, know their lives, know them, know exactly what you need to put on every single day, and that's how you become the best.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We've got the other Patrick Daly Award winner, Mr. John DiMartino from Port Richmond. It's great to see you. Great to meet you. Congratulations to you. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Very humbled by such an award.
How would you best describe what this means to you?
After reading up on Patrick Daly, I can say I am honored. Mr. Daly was a principal. I am a teacher. I know I'm a dean, but he was an amazing man, and to be sharing an award that's named after him is simply amazing.
You know, you and I kind of share a connection over at the school because we have a mutual friend, Mr. Gannon.
Absolutely.
Tell me about what Mr. Gannon has meant to you and to Port Richmond.
Well, when Mr. Gannon came in, I had worked with Mr. Gannon when he was the assistant principal for safety and security at Curtis, and I was the associate head baseball coach there. So when he came in, he really gave us a breath of fresh air. He was excited. He was into school spirit. One of the kids, and I'll never forget his name, it was 2005, the kid's name was Nick Ciolis, looked at me and said, I've seen this principal more in 3 months than I've seen the other one in all my 4 years here. Wow. So Mr. Gannon helped bring the Raider family together.
Give us a background about your educational experience.
My educational experience started 1996. I started working at John Dewey Middle School, MS 136 in Brooklyn. From there, I moved along to Newdorp High School, where Miss Elizabeth Scabara gave me the opportunity to become a phys ed teacher and also a baseball coach. I was there for 2 years, 2.5 years, and then I found my home at Port Richmond High School for the last 20 plus years.
How are things at Port Richmond?
Port Richmond High School is wonderful. You have to come in it to believe it. The staff is amazing. We're now led by Port Richmond alumnus Andrew Greenfield, who has been the principal for the last year and a half. He's the man in charge. He's involved in the community. He supports his teachers. He supports the students. He's carrying on, having Raider pride, being a 1988 graduate himself. We also have current staff members that are graduates of Port Richmond High School. So 3 of our 8 cabinet members are graduates of Port Richmond High School, which is a pretty amazing thing.
Once upon a time, the school was going through a little adversity. Now, it's gone through a renaissance. What's changed?
I'm a sports person by heart, and is my firm belief, whether it be in life, whether it be in school, or whether it be in sports, without going through the storm or the hard times, it's going to make the good times that much more better. Everybody wants to win. No one wants to work out. Everyone wants to win a championship. No one's ready in the preseason. So that little rough patch that we had, that's all it was. It's going to make the reward so much better.
Speaking of the sports program over there, is Lou Vesey still the football coach there?
I am proud to say that myself and Coach Lou Vesey, who is now in his 15th year as coach, open up Port Richmond High School each and every day at 6:30 for the students, and we greet them. And he is going strong, and he is as excitable as ever.
Is there a hope that you would like to see happen at the school? And if so, what would it be?
I guess my only hope would be, come and see us. Rumors are great. but please come and see us. We have an amazing staff. We have an amazing custodian crew. We're there for children. If you give us an opportunity, you will not be disappointed.
We know all about how the education system in the city is. It's been going through a lot of trials and tribulations. Do you think that there might be light at the end of the tunnel for the entire school system in all 5 boroughs?
I'm going to take a deep breath before I answer that question, but my answer is still yes. My biggest challenge that I see with the education system is we continue to make changes and changes and changes. I'm a firm believer in stick with a plan and follow through on that plan. Whether it's a new chancellor, again, people go, when we have change, the expectations of the students, which are ever changing, are also changing the expectations of the staff. So to me, once we can have some stability within the educational department and a complete outlook, so once students' expectations are set at the young age, as they come through, it'll make it that much easier in the transition.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you
Congratulations on the award. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone for coming out.
And I'm Jamie Hickson here to remind you, do all you can to support your local educational programs and also support good men like Mr. DiMartino, who is bending over backwards and working long and hard to make education in Staten Island great again. Thanks for your time.